Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing good. Let me turn my headphones down. They're cracking my head. There we go. Uh, yeah, that's fine. Or I guess I don't have headphones this week. I went to earbuds. Let me adjust this just a little bit so you guys can see me and everything. Glad to have you here tonight on the show. Get this all adjusted. There we go. We got a great guest tonight. Got my buddy Tim Stafford on, and it's going to be a lot of fun having him. Let me adjust this a little bit. I'll tell you a funny story here tonight. I jumped up here and got ready for my show, threw all my stuff on my microphone, and was about a minute from going live, and had everything ready, and I realized it was going on 7 o'clock instead of 8. So I was already an hour ago, and it seems like even at that, I was running a little late tonight for some reason, getting everything right. But anyway, I hope you're doing good. Tim Stafford's going to be a great guest for us tonight. Glad to see everybody tuning in. And, it's been a good day here. The weather's been really nice. I hope it's been nice where you're at. A really good feel in the air coming into spring about maybe the hope that we'll be able to get some bluegrass festivals under our belts this year. A lot of things seem to be returning to normal. We've still got a long way to go, but things are returning to normal again with this COVID stuff, and just hoping that everybody will be safe. Hope you'll get your vaccine, and if you're not going to get your vaccine, be sure you social distance and always wear a mask. I'm in the clear with mine. It's been both my shots in I think for maybe 14 days, but I still wear a mask when I go in somewhere. So let's see who all we got tonight. We've always got Barney Rogers. He's a loyal fan of this page, and always glad to have him on. Danny Bivens, glad to have him. Johnny Siler, that's my old banjo picking buddy up in Union County. He's on. Jeff Smith, Darren Pete. Hey, Darren, glad to have you on. And Barney says it's 75 degrees in Raleigh. We've been close to that today, so hopefully, I know we're going to have some more cold snaps, but I'm ready for it to get warm. And Amy Saltz, I believe it's Saltzgaver. Hope I pronounced that right. She said Bean Blossom. And right now, I know Bean Blossom, we're not going to have the June festival, but we're hoping to combine both festivals. It should run maybe 8 days in September. I'm trying to see if we can run a little less on that, maybe 6 or something. And, cause the talent lineup, I want to be able to, beef the talent lineup a little bit, but we've only got so much to work with when when you've had a couple of years with no festivals and stuff. So hope everybody can hear me tonight. I've had a total computer changeover today, and a different streaming service hooked up, so I hope that there's no delays. I knew that we've been having delays, some people had, and I wanted to get rid of that. So hopefully this will help a little bit. Seems like it did. It seems like there's no lapse or anything. So anyway, tell you a few things going on. We're going to have a great guest next week. Got a great guest tonight, Tim Stafford, but got a great guest next week that's a good friend. And this guy is in the IBMA Bluegrass Hall of Fame, went in this past year. And you may know him as the voice of Newgrass Revival, and also a member of the Doobie Brothers. Mr. John Cowan will be on the show next week. It's a big hitter to get him, and that's going to be a good thing. So, also something I'm not sure will happen, but I'm going to try to move my program over either over the next week or so, and I'll let everybody know. I'm either going to try to move it to my YouTube channel or to my fan page. And the reason for that is the way Facebook's set up, I'm finding out a lot of people aren't able to tune in, maybe because they're not a friend or something. So I want to get that straightened out so everybody can tune in that wants to watch a show. But I'll let everybody know, I'm sure we'll be here next week and I'll have all my ducks in a row and we'll know kind of what's going on, with that. But I just want everybody that, can to be able to watch us. And tonight, let's see what I got. I got my Bonfire shirt. Bonfire is a subsidiary of Pine Castle. They've been some good folks to me over the years, probably 20 years down there at that label. And check out the hat. That's Sound Biscuit. That's a great studio here close by. And that's the studio where, if you've heard a song called Resurrection Morning that was written for Steve Gully. If you've heard that, that was done at Sound Biscuit. Great studio. Looking on down the line here, Carl Towns said would love to play at Bean Blossom. Well, buddy, I'll see what we can do with things. There's so many bands and just so many spots, and we try to do what we can. So maybe eventually we'll get things in there. Okay, I hope so. Jerry Vincent Parker, howdy neighbor, glad to have you. And Teresa Eldridge Hoff Romans, glad to have you on tonight. I'm gonna scroll on down a little bit. We've got a few people on here tonight. I told Tim that there was nobody that liked him very much, so we probably wouldn't have but a few, but we said we'd do it anyway. So, Tim, I'll talk about Tim a little bit. Tim, I think it was not 1990, got to get my facts right. 1990, he became a member of Alison Krauss and Union Station. That's kind of when she was kicking off, and he was there from the first, pretty much with her, and recorded a Grammy winning album with her called Everytime You Say Goodbye. That's Tim on that, and he's on a lot of her stuff. I think he stayed about 4 years there. I do know around 1994, he and Rob Ickes, Jason Burleson, who's the banjo player in the My Side band called the All Stars of Bluegrass, Jason Burleson, Wayne Taylor, and Sean Lane, Tim Stafford. They started Blue Highway, and that's always been one of my favorite bands, and I think a lot of people really like them because they're always nominated or winning awards at the IBMA. So Stafford is part of the big backbone in that band. And anyway, he also did a lot of stuff with my buddy Steve Gully. They were buddies, recorded a couple of records, and they've got a tune called Still Here that's on radio now being played. And it was he and Steve Gully, and I think that was the last thing they recorded together. And it's just really, really a great tune. And we'll talk about all that a little bit. We'll go over here a little bit. And Carl Town said, glad you're doing well. Thank you, Carl. I'm glad to be doing well. I've had my moments this week, but, part of it. I did go to Vanderbilt on Monday to try to see if I had a better option to dialysis, and I don't have a better option. I thought I had better kidney function, but it wasn't really working. So anyway, the good thing about that is I know where I'm at, and that's what it's about with me. I don't like stuff that's hidden or things I have to worry about. I want to hit it in the head and get with it, and that's why I went to Vanderbilt. I figured dialysis was going to be my thing, but I wanted to hear it from, a doctor that specialized in that, and that's what I was told, and I'm good with it. So anyway, I'm doing well, and thank you, Carl, for that. Let's see, my buddy Mark Eaton said, looking forward to hearing from Tim, another one of his favorite music dudes. Yeah, buddy, he sure is. Tim Stafford, to me, is one of the greatest guitar players and writers and singers that I know of. And I've always loved his voice and Blue Highway and his guitar playing. You can always tell it's Tim. So he's one of mine too. One of the best guitar players. Andy Pancher said, and that's right, definitely. And Amy Saltzgaber said, "You're looking good." Must be talking about that picture back there. Appreciate it though. Trying to stay healthy. And thank you, Amy. Carl Towns, Tim is great, talented, and good people. That's right, he is. And my buddy Mike Kelly now. He says, "I pray for you daily, brother. Love you and Lisa." He's Mike Kelly's one of my very best friends ever, and he's a great friend of the music. And if you check out Merle FM, go to their web page and find out how to tune them in. And if you're far away, they're online. But Mike is the Sunday DJ for the gospel show that runs on Sunday, and everybody around here tunes over to listen to Mike Kelly. He's just the man with that, but he's on Merle FM. So just remember that, Merle Haggard, then FM. You've got it. Listen to Mike Kelly. Thank you, Mike, and appreciate the prayers too, because Lisa's mom and stepdad's been pretty sick this week, and I appreciate you thinking about them. Thank you. And when it gets better, Mike, we're going to go to Louis. All right? All right. That's Balloon Buster theme right there. Keith Camp, hello, buddy. Barney Rogers loves Tim's writing. Yep. And Carl Towns said, "The Lord gave us the intelligence to learn how to fix things. I just had triple bypass. We got spare parts." Yeah, buddy. And Carl, I hope you're doing well. You've been friends on my page for a long time, so that's awesome. Tina McLaren zone. Tina was a good friend of my wife's. They're still friends. We moved. She's in Nashville. We're in Knoxville, but with the internet, you don't have to, be next door anymore. You don't quit being friends when you move. So they've been buddies since, oh my gosh, maybe 30 years, probably a little longer than that. So glad to have you on tonight, Tina. And thank you, Mike. Danny Bivens said, "Saw Alison Krauss the first time. Ron Block played with her. Alison Brown had left." Ron's a killer banjo player. Alison Brown was too. I loved both of their banjo playing with Alison. So yeah, glad to have you on. And Tina said, "Your family's always in prayers." Thanks a lot. Lisa's mom and stepdad's been a little ill, so we appreciate that. Prayer is something we can all do. It doesn't cost a penny. And you never have to say, I'd like to do that, but I just don't have enough money. Prayer doesn't cost anything to do. And you don't have to be anywhere special. You don't have to be in a church. You don't have to be you don't have to be anywhere but just where you are. That's all you have to do. So I always appreciate the prayers, and thank you so much. And my buddy Betty Edmondson, I went to high school with. Good to see you tonight. Glad to have you, Betty. Betty was one of my good friends in high school, and she tunes in about every week. So she's getting her some bluegrass education for sure. And thanks for being tuned in. John Husky Sr., I have missed the past two podcasts. Looking forward to listening. Well, John, I'm going to have to just go ahead and delete you, because we don't allow you to miss the show. But we're glad to have you. Glad to have you, John. Digging the Hat, Dave Maggard. That's right. This is Dave's studio. Sound Biscuit. And I've got a couple of Sound Biscuit shirts, Dave. I'll have to break those out. I wear them a lot. Wear this hat a lot. But if you want to really go to a great recording studio and have a great vacation while you're at it, come into Sevierville, which is edge of Pigeon Forge, and go to Dave Maggard's studio, Sound Biscuit. It's awesome. You'll be surprised when you get in there that everything that he's got is just excellent. I think Doyle Lawson has just cut tracks there for a new album, and Dave can tell me that. And you can tell me in a minute. That's Tim Stafford. Let me get Tim on here. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Phil.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, buddy.
I'm going to crank you up, crank me down a little bit. Say a little something there, Tim.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. How's everybody today?
Glad to have you on, Tim. We've been talking about you a lot tonight.
Yeah.
It's all been good. I don't know if you've been listening in, but we're glad to have you.
I appreciate you, buddy. I really do. Really do.
Well, Tim, I want to talk. I mean, everybody knows, everybody knows you. And but I want to start back a little ways with you and see, tell everybody where you're from and where you grew up and what age you started playing guitar.
Well, I'm from Kingsport, Tennessee, and I grew up in the Bloomingdale region of Kingsport. For those people who know where that is, I graduated from Kettering High School, which is no longer a school. It's an elementary school now, I believe, and then consolidated into Sullivan North, and I believe they're consolidating it again this year at northern part of Sullivan County, and got into bluegrass music when I was a freshman in high school. Came in the first day, and there was two guys playing mandolin and guitar in the choir room. And I was signed up for concert choir, and I had never heard a mandolin before. And I asked the guy what instrument that was, and his name was Greg Cornett, and he said, "Man, it's a mandolin." He said, "The best mandolin player in the world, his mom lives right down there," and he pointed out the window, and there was a little house down there, and it was Doyle Lawson's mother's house. So I had the good fortune of living right next to Doyle's mom's house, and one day, about a month or two later, the Country Gentleman bus rolled up, and by that time I'd heard live bluegrass because one of the teachers there at school had a bluegrass band. And their heroes was the Country Gentleman. I didn't know that at the time, but I got up the nerve to go over there, and I introduced myself to Charlie Waller and Doyle and Bill Yates, and James Bailey was in the band.
Right.
And later on, I met Jerry Douglas when he was a member for the second time, I believe, maybe third.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it, man. I played banjo. I was a banjo player.
Really?
And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Started out as a banjo player and loved. J.D. Crowe just absolutely turned my head all the way around. I just loved his playing and wanted to learn how to play like that. And I think I let my right hand kind of turn into that, Crowe's right hand. And so later on, when I switched over to guitar, which I joined a group that had a really good banjo player. And so I had to either learn how to play guitar or quit, and so I figured, well, it's got three of the same strings, I ought to be able to figure this out. And it was Tim Hargrove was the banjo player.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim.
I do.
Yeah, and so we started a little group there, and that's the first time I played guitars when I believe I was 17 or 18.
Wow. Well, you sure picked it up really well, Tim, was what you do. And you still have a different look on your right hand. Maybe that's a little bit of J.D. Crowe look, but you've got a really unique attack on how you play, and it's,
Well, I appreciate it. It's different, and it is J.D.'s fault. I'll just throw that out there.
Oh, he will appreciate that. I know you're big, like you said, big fans of J.D. Crowe, and I think. I'm sure you were with Alison then, but back years ago, if I'm telling this right, I don't know the exact facts on this. I was just told by a couple of people that were the stage hands. We'd played at Owensboro during the IBMA, and it rained really bad. And I know that the stagehands had said that Allison and Kenny Chesney, this was before he had really, I guess, started making it big, said that Allison and Kenny Chesney, and I think Adam, and maybe you may not have been, but were out in the rain under a garbage bag watching Crow set. And was you in that bunch, or was you smart enough to be in the car getting dry?
I probably was in the car, but I know I've watched Crow in the rain at different places just because I didn't want to miss that right hand, you know.
Yeah, he's always worth watching regardless where he's at.
He really was. That's entirely possible, man. I know that I was at IBMA when it poured rain a few times at FanFest.
Yeah, down on the river there at Owensboro.
Right on the river. Yeah.
But it rained every year there. It seemed like, you know. They would always get ready, and you'd drive by, and the stage would look so nice, and about an hour later it'd be just pouring rain. And I've got to break in just a minute. My buddy Lonnie Lassiter's here. I have to show Lonnie. Got my bonfire shirt on. Lonnie owns Pine Castle and also Bonfire. So have to say hey to him. And Dave Maggard did say that they just finished up Doyle Lawson's album. We were talking about Doyle. They just finished up his album at Dave's studio, which is Sound Biscuit here in East Tennessee. So it's good to have. Well, yeah, I mean, you recorded there after Steve passed away.
We did that thing. With the folks, the Resurrection Morning song.
Yeah.
In tribute to Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him a whole bunch here in a little bit, because I know he was one of my best friends, and I know he was yours too. And you know, we're probably two of the people that knew him the best in music. So we're going to talk about him a little bit. But we'll move on a little bit. I remember the first time I think we may have met, but I'm not sure. But I know we did some festivals for Tank up at the Down Home, and I'm wondering to think you guys played one of those, didn't you, with us maybe?
Well, I know you were in New Dawn at that time, right?
Yeah.
And I actually was just playing in different bands around home there at that time. I was in a group called The Boys in the Band, but I don't think I had joined that group at that time. I was just there to watch the show, you know.
Because Crow was there, you know.
Crow was there, and he had Keith Whitley with him.
Keith Whitley, yep. I remember one of the things, I don't know if you remember this or not, my memory's good in places, and then other times it's not, but I remember there was a dog up at the festival, and there was hay bales, and the dog kept climbing up the hay bales and getting on stage. And I remember Crow raked his banjo in the dog's ear, and the dog jumped all the way off the stage. And everybody was laughing about that. Well, the next day we played, and this is funny. I probably shouldn't tell this, but I'm going to. My brother Kent, we all were like this. We all used to pick and stay up all night picking and things like that. And sometimes there was jars getting passed around long before Old Smoky Moonshine. And anyway, I know Kent had been up all night. He'd been canning, I guess, with all the jars. But the next day we went and played, and we all used to dress alike, and we all had on tan suits, and Kent was just wore out. He'd been up all night picking and everything. And he's on stage, and that same dog comes up, and I know Kent had boots on under his pants. They were tan. And that dog come up and just threw his leg up and just turned loose on Kent about the knee. And it went all the way down in Kent's boot, and you could see the outline of the top of his boots all the way around. It was too late. The dog had done left. And I remember coming off stage, and JD was over there, and we passed by, and he says, Yeah, we had a problem with that dog last night, and I don't know whose dog it was, but that was always a funny story with us. Ken will probably kill me for telling that because Kent's not like that anymore. He catches a dog before it gets started on him. So anyway, those were fun times. But I remember your name, from way back, and I know through Dusty Miller days,
Hmm.
a great band. But the first time I really officially met you was they had a concert at the U.S. Amphitheater in Knoxville. This was after the World's Fair, and you guys were down there with Allison, and
Hmm.
uh, and I brought a special newspaper to you there, which we'll talk about a little bit. You probably know which one. It was a newsletter,
I'm
and
very familiar with it.
oh
Yes, yes.
yes, you are. Well, we'll talk about that. Well, we're not going to talk about it really. We'll just make a mention later on. But let's talk a little about Alison Krauss. You started there in 1990, something like that.
Yeah, all three, me and Barry Bales and Adam Steffi, were playing in Dusty Miller, and we all joined her band at the same time. And it was, I believe, we played our first show in May or something like that,
Hmm.
1990. And I was with her for about 2 years.
How many
And
how many albums did you do? Did you just do Every Time You Say Goodbye, or did you do more than
yeah,
that?
well, yeah, I did Every Time You Say Goodbye, and we did a cut with Michelle Shocked
Oh yeah,
on her record, one of her records, and
right.
then we also, I think they took a couple of things there and put them out on later things like that. Now That I Found You, there's a cut
Oh
from
yeah.
when we were there. But yeah, the only album that I did with her was Every Time You Say Goodbye.
Now that one won a Grammy, didn't it?
It did. I guess it would have been '93
Hmm.
because I went out with the guys and to Los Angeles, and we hung out and had a big time.
That's
I hadn't
awesome.
seen them in a while,
Do,
and
do,
we
do,
always stayed on good terms.
sure.
I left because of my son was born
Hmm.
uh, in January of '92,
Right.
and at Kali, and he's coming over tomorrow to help me move some boxes, and he's 29 years old now,
Man, they
so that
grow
tells
up
you
quick, don't they?
it's unbelievable. It's been that long, and I talked to Alison not long ago, and we were talking about it. Just doesn't seem possible it was that long ago. Almost 30 years.
It's
But
unreal. Now Allison's got one son, is that right?
yeah, Sam. Yeah,
Sam.
she's got one son.
How old is he now?
He's a little younger than Daniel.
Oh,
Just a couple 3 years, I think. So somewhere in that range. But
but
he's a real talented cat too.
well, it's just it's like so many people. I mean, my son's 30, 36, I guess, and
Yeah.
he's with Dale and Bradley, and their album just came out this week, and I'm just, you get real happy to see your kids succeed doing something that,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, if they're musicians or carpenters or whatever they do, you're just proud to see them grow up, especially nowadays. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
they're,
And I might say Matt is a fine musician.
oh, thank you,
He
Tim.
really is. I played on his solo record that he did a
Hmm.
few years ago, and
Hmm.
he's just he's really matured as a musician. All of us have, of course. I hope as we
Yeah,
go along.
sure, sure.
And he sounds great, and I know you're proud of him.
Oh, thank you, buddy. I got this CD and started listening to it, and it's funny because I kept, being a dobro player, you could critique other dobro players even though it's your kid, and I was listening and saying, wow, he's really pulling some good tone. Wow, he's really pulling throwing in some good licks there, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're always proud of him, but yeah, I remember that's why you had left Allison, and you started Blue Highway about that time. Is that right? Or 94,
Yeah.
93, 94?
It was 94. We played our first show in 94. I left Allison in 92, and I tried to get out of bluegrass and ended up doing some DJ work and worked for Tim White,
Mm-hmm.
the sign company, and I also did some writing for Bluegrass Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the bands that I wrote about was the Tim Laughlin Band, and
Mm-hmm.
I went up and interviewed all of them, and the bass player was a guy named Wayne Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess this would have been in 93.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and saw him play a few times, and I was really impressed with Wayne and his
Oh,
singing
yeah.
and writing, and just a great guy. And I thought, well, I hadn't planned on playing any, but, maybe we could put together a part-time band at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And there was talk of me going back with Allison around the end of 93. And at Spigma, I found out that wasn't going to happen. So I talked to Wayne there, saw Wayne. I said, man, maybe we should get together and pick,
Mm-hmm.
And, we said, okay. And the next thing I know, Sean Lane calls me. And he had just been playing. He'd been playing with Doyle and got out of Skaggs' band. He was in Ricky Skaggs' band.
Right.
And he had left and was living down South Carolina near his future wife and her family, and going to college down there. And he wanted to be in a part-time band too. Demo with me and wanted to know what I was doing. And I said, well, talking to Wayne Taylor. And so it started steamrolling like that. And then I called Rob because Rob Ikes had gone out with us when I was in Allison's band.
Oh, yeah. Great choice.
And yeah, he went out with us just to hang out. He didn't really, I think he didn't play with us any, but he was a good friend of Ron Block's, and he just sort of came along. And so I got to know him then, and so it just sort of steamrolled all through 94. Jason, we auditioned Jason, and he ended up playing with us, and we did our first show New Year's Eve, 94.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys, and I've told you this before, I mean, it's hard to say when you're online because so many people listen, but I will say this, normally you can't, but I will. You guys have always been my favorite band. And
Oh, man.
I mean, really, you guys, I remember me and Steve Gully coming back from somewhere, and we're in the car, and Kyle was doing, Through the Window of a Train, which we'll talk about that too. But we were listening to that, and man, all the music on there, I told Steve when we were writing, I said, man, it's a shame we can't rewind and listen to this stuff again. And Steve said, we'll get you a CD. I wrote a song on there. And that song, Through the Window of a Train, you guys won an IBMA Song of the Year, was it, for that?
I believe, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like 2008, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I remember how proud Steve was coming home, and he had that trophy over in the back seat, and I kept messing with him. It got so bad he started getting embarrassed. Every time he'd get out of the car, like he was pumping gas, and I slipped around and set that award up on the gas pump, and Steve looked at me and said, Phil Ledbetter, you idiot. And then we went to eat somewhere, and I slipped it in, and he runs to the restroom, and I set it over there on the table where the salt shaker and everything is. And I remember the waiter come by and asked what that was, and I said, well, you got to do something for me. I said, this guy's name is Steve. And I said, remember Gully like a Gully water run. So remember Steve Gully. And when he comes out here, I said, I'll give you a good tip if you'll look and say, Steve Gully, you won this last night at the award show, didn't you? And Steve sees this trophy, and he sits down and he says, oh gosh, about that time the waiter comes up. And Steve, again, I'm gonna kill you, Phil, when we get out in the car. But I pulled it out about 3 or 4 times on him, and finally, he put it in the back of his truck where the tools went, so I couldn't pull it out anymore. And but he was so proud of that, because I remember he had went and Stephen went and got him a new suit and everything, and I said, man, that's a good luck thing, Steve. And he says, no, I just got that because I wanted to look decent. And I said, yeah, but somewhere you guys probably gonna win this. And man, I was so happy for the both of you guys, and still have a lot of pictures from that night of you guys on stage getting the award. So that was a great night. And speaking of you and Steve, you guys, we're gonna get into some of your music here, but you guys did. I know Dogwood Winter and Still Here. That's the 2 albums you guys have done. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We did Dogwood Winter together back in 2010, and Rural Rhythm, and then because Steve had a relationship there with those folks at Rural Rhythm at that time, he did quite a few records for them and produced things, and then Steve was the one that was instrumental in getting our latest record on Mountain Home. He was the one that talked to those folks and said, I think this would be good. And so it's really Steve's doing that we got on the Mountain Home. And I'm just so glad that we got a chance to do this record, because we did it just a few months before we finished it before he got sick. And he was very proud of this new record, and he told me many times, that he wanted to make a point of talking about how proud he was of the songs, and he just liked the way it turned out, and I just give anything if he could have seen it. And,
I think of him when I saw that the song went. I think it was #1. Was it #1 a few weeks back?
Yeah, it was last year, September or something like that. It went #1.
That's right.
At the single. Yeah.
I'm like you. I thought how proud he would be of that, because all of us musicians, we track that stuff, whether we say it means anything or not. It really does, because it shows to me, when you see something do good, it's like, hey, I'm still in the ball game doing this. And I know Steve had, at times, I know Steve had talked to me coming home, and probably did the same with you about this, but Steve always had a thing where he kind of thought he was kind of up and done with stuff, like a lot of stuff, had passed by. And I always told Steve, I said, man, the best stuff is ahead of you, Steve. And I always thought Steve, when he talked about that, and I knew what it was, he never was male vocalist of the year, and I think he should have won it several times, because Steve was one of the greatest singers in bluegrass, I think. And,
Totally agree. Yeah.
Just the stuff he did with Mountain Heart was incredible. The stuff he did with us with Grasstown, and his own band. I just never understood that. But I'm so glad that you and him got to do some stuff together. And the Dogwood Winter CD is still one of my very favorite CDs that I always kept in the car, which now you load them in. But that tune, Angel on Its Way, Steve had told me that story a long time back about this, and it kind of had I guess had kind of touched him a lot with that. and Debbie had talked about, you know, seeing this woman, meeting this woman, and stuff. And when I heard it on the album, man, it was just really good, really good. And from that
And
same from that same album, Tim, one of my favorite songs, and I tell you about it a lot, but it's one of my favorite of any music I've heard. But and you do such a great job on it. Is that tune called "Another Setting Sun"?
oh yeah, just another setting
Yeah,
sun.
that's
Yeah,
it. Just another.
yeah,
My
yeah.
gosh, that wasn't that. Tell us a little bit about that song because you're not somebody that just sits down and starts writing stuff. You research things, and Steve had told me about all the research you did just for that song.
Yeah, that was about Doc Holliday, and we had been. I'd had the title "Just Another Setting Sun," and I remember for a long time I just had that title, and I thought it was a great title, but I couldn't think of anything. But then I had read a book about Doc Holliday, and was thinking about him, and I mentioned this title, and the more Steve and I talked about it, I thought, well, why don't we just merge these two things? The title and the idea of Doc Holliday, maybe not his story, but from the point of view of his wife, and
Right,
uh,
right.
and that's what it is. It's really talking about her and what she remembered about their relationship, and yeah, it's a poignant song. I just really, there's something about Steve and I's relationship with writing and everything, and
Hmm.
we just the way things worked. It just seemed like it always worked out. And if he would get up when what his living room was like there, at his
Hmm. Yeah,
house,
yeah.
he'd get up and walk over that window and look down towards his dad's house.
Hmm.
And when he did that, I knew there was a good idea getting ready
Hmm.
to come.
Hmm.
And he often did that. And when he would do it, he would talk his way through it, and I would try to hit on what he was saying and maybe encapsulate it, and then we would go from there. And that happened I don't know how many times, but yeah, that's Doc Holliday's story there, and just another setting sun.
Oh, you guys just wrote so good together, and you know, for the people listening tonight, if you don't have that CD, you need to get that one, and you need to go get Still Inside. Oh, not Still Inside. That's Tony Rice. Still Here.
Right. Yeah,
Still Here. Now,
still here.
speaking of Tony Rice, you wrote a book about Tony Rice along with Caroline Wright. Is that right?
That's right. Came out the same year as Dogwood Winter, in 2010, and it's his authorized biography. We worked on it. Well, I worked on it for 10 years, and
Wow.
I know that. So it was around the year 2000 when I started working on it,
Hmm.
and I know that Caroline started about 2003 on it with me. It was Pam, Tony's wife's idea to get Caroline involved,
Hmm.
and she thought we might be able to work because I kind of was getting real heavy into Blue Highway stuff, and I didn't have that much time to work on the book. It had sort of gotten on the back burner,
Sure.
and Caroline she had written a great article on Tony for Listener magazine, which is no longer published, but
Mm.
it was one of the better articles I ever read about Tony. And so we talked, and she lives in Hawaii, and
Hmm.
she did come to Tennessee. We met, and we talked about this, and we got a game plan together and went on with it. And man, you talk about a labor of love. I think between the two of us, I think we had 5 interviews with Tony alone
Wow.
that were like several. I mean, you could have made a book out of just about each one of them. Just incredible amount of information. And then when we transcribed all those and started looking at it, we thought, well, my gosh, man, we're not going to be able to tell his story any better than he did. So that's why the book is in Tony's words,
All
and that's
right.
why it's organized the way it is.
Well, man, it's an
Um,
awesome book. And when I was with J.D. Crowe, because I was there 11 years, I heard so much, stories about Tony, and stuff. I almost felt like I knew all those guys because JD, here was our heroes, and JD was talking about them just like, guys that came by the house to mow the yard or something. It was just really, I learned so much about him, and your book. I learned a lot more getting to look at that, and that's another thing people need to pick up is that book. It's awesome. It's called Still Inside. Is that right?
Yeah, Still Inside, the Tony Rice story, and I'm really glad that it came out. And Tony, it was authorized. He approved it, read it before it came out to make sure that everything was accurate and in his voice. And we just wanted to preserve the way he talked, and I think we were able to do that. We also had every chapter, and the book is chronological, but each chapter also has not only Tony's story, but also other people from that period in his life.
Oh yeah, sure. That's
so
awesome. Well,
so there's dozens and dozens of interviews, and so
you guys sure did a great job on that, Tim. Really great. I'm gonna go through. We're getting some people writing in, and I think you might want to know. And Mike Kelly, we'll get with him in a few minutes. Just keep reminding me about something. Mark Eaton said, Rob Hikes and Ron Block, a pair of our finest bluegrass exports from here in California. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and Stuart Duncan is from right out there too.
Yeah. Something in the water, isn't it?
There really is. There's some great musicians. Keith Little.
Where was Alison Brown from?
She's actually from near San Diego, La Jolla.
Okay, I knew she was in California. That's why I didn't know.
Right. Yeah. She went to Harvard, but I think she grew up out there in California. So.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people that don't know Alison Brown probably didn't know don't she have like a degree in banking or something like that, or finance?
Yeah, I believe she's got a master's degree in business management or something like that. And I think she went to UCLA to get that.
Oh, Tim,
she was an investment banker at one point.
Yeah, that's right. I knew it was something to do with that. Now, didn't you have your PhD in history?
I worked on a PhD in history at Miami University up in Oxford, Ohio, from '84 to '86. And I was up there and listening to Paul Moon Mullins on WPFB radio. Couldn't leave the bluegrass behind, man.
No.
That's I first saw Tony when I was living up there. He came to Louisville to play that festival in the bluegrass.
Oh yeah.
That was a great festival in downtown Louisville, and first time I ever saw him, and he just blew me away. And that '80s was such a good time. That feel for bluegrass.
Yeah, sure. People that didn't live in that time wouldn't understand the things. I mean, here in town we had Buddy's Barbecue, and and I don't know if I think we may have talked about that. I don't know if you said you had been there or hadn't been there.
I have. Yeah, I did go there a few times.
Who did you get to see when you were down?
Well, we came to see Knoxville Grass one time, and we played there one time.
Right.
Back when I was with this group, Mountain Memories.
Oh yeah, okay.
But it's a little hazy in my mind too, because there's a club in Johnson City called the Down Home that started around that same time in '76, and I sort of grew up going to that club.
Well, you got your places that's close by, and now we played the Down Home a lot, and it was like the place everybody wanted to go. I mean, I saw Crow with Whitley there.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
We were probably there at the same time, because I remember when Crow would come in, they would always have 2 nights for him, and he would always pack it out. And it's sad anymore. You go to these places, and I don't care who you are, you can barely get crowds in at these. And I don't know what the deal is anymore with these clubs, but Tank. I know Tank was a different kind of a guy. with stuff, but he kept really good music in there to Down Home, and
He really did. Yeah, yeah.
his
It was a
festivals were
gem.
good.
Yeah, his festivals were good. They were crazy, but yeah, it's fun and great music. And Down Home, man, I tell you, it's one of the reasons why that music scene kind of continued to thrive and survive up here in this part of the world.
Sure was.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I remember I didn't have a driver's license, but my friend, when he got a driver's license, his name was Mike Ritter, and when he got his driver's license, it was like every week. At that point, he would call and say, "What you doing Saturday?" And I'd say, "I guess probably going to the Down Home with you. Is that right?" And yeah, and we saw so many people up there that we didn't really realize at the time, and then boom, they come out and they're either with Doyle or somebody like that and just wearing it out. And
Right.
yeah, but the Down Home was the place. And I still when I go in there, I get I don't know, I still, because the place is just like it used to be, you still get a little tingle in your arms or something when you walk in that place. Because I think back where I sat and watched bands, and it's kind of surreal that you walk right by the tables you sit at, and then here you're going up to the stage to play. So it's pretty cool. But let me run by. I was getting some people asking about you. Carl Townsend, Blue Highway's my favorite too. Born with a Hammer in My Hand, man. Yeah, that's a stout song right there. You put that on, and man, it's on you quick.
Sean Lane, we've been talking about rewriting the John Henry idea, and maybe there was a guy out there that we never heard about that was better than John Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just laughing, carrying on about it, and one of us said, "Yeah, man, I was born with a hammer in my hand." So. Yeah, he's talking trash to John Henry. That's how good he is.
Sure, sure. Oh, that right there. I guess that's the way a lot of songs are written. You sit around cutting up, and all of a sudden you got a title, in your hand, or a hammer in your hand. But that's one of my favorites too, because I know when that tune starts, it's on you pretty quick, and I really like that one. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, because I've had so much chemicals run through my brain with chemo, but I know somebody used to always run up to me, and it was kind of funny. We'd be talking about that song, and they'd jump over my face, and they'd go, "In your face, man," like that. And I'd say, "Yeah, it is, but that's a great tune." And Mike Kelly, when Mike writes something, I have to read his before I read it out, because you never know what Mike Kelly's going to throw at you. And
that is the truth.
And he kind of halfway through one at you here. He said, "Ask Tim how it feels to be the favorite son of Kingsport behind Ron and Don Wright." Well, those folks that don't know, Ron and Don were local wrestlers around here, and they were hilarious, to say the least.
Well, I believe it was Don's daughter, Terry Wright, was in my class. She went to Kingsley Elementary School, and so he would come pick her up every now and then. That was pretty intimidating, because we all watched wrestling back on Saturday afternoon, and he was usually the villain, so he scared us to death,
Oh yeah. I had a few weeks back, maybe 3 weeks, I had Ricky Steamboat Dragon on, the Dragon. And it was funny because I guess since he's not wrestling anymore, he was telling a lot of stories about how they would practice certain moves and things like that on their day, before they wrestled that week. And he was talking about when people didn't get in the right position, how many people got hurt and stuff. And it's kind of funny to hear people, like that come forward. And it's like Ron Wright. We knew Ron and those guys weren't real, but sometimes their tempers would boil over and it would get real.
Absolutely.
Used to go to, I didn't used to go, I went a few times when they wrestled out at Channel 10, and they wrestled in the same building that the Kaz Walker show was taped in. And for
Right.
people who didn't know Kaz was one of the very first, I think maybe the first to ever have Dolly Parton on air. And
Right.
but they would wrestle in that room out there, and I remember so many times getting a good seat, and after maybe 2 or 3 body slams, I was ready to go stand further back because I thought they were going to jerk me in the ring and stomp me. But yeah, that was Mike Kelly, and Amy Saltzgaver said his band was just starting to take off. That's I think she was talking about maybe Steve, a New Pinnacle there. And Mark Eaton says Nebraska Sky is my favorite song on Dogwood Winter. Man, that's another great song.
Thank you.
That's one that you wrote, right?
Well, yeah, we wrote it together, and the thing we were thinking of was we were talking about Jimmy Webb and how much we loved Wichita Lineman.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And we just kept talking about Wichita Lineman and the chords in it. I played a few of them, and I said, man, his harmonic sense was so ahead of its time, and then, we just said, well, let's try to write a song like Jimmy Webb. Let's try to approach it like that. And I don't know if we even said that out loud, but that's sort of what Nebraska Sky was. We thought of it as sort of a piano type song. And then if you listen to it, it's kind of got some piano type chords.
Sure. That whole album's full of great tunes. I mean, I can't really pick I can't pick a favorite. They're just all great. And that's another opportunity to tell people, get on Tim's site, and you have all your music on your site, don't you, Tim?
I do. I've got my solo record, the latest one, Tunes and Ballads.
Right.
And I've got the Tony Rice book, and both of mine and Steve's records. I just got the new record today, still here.
Mm-hmm.
But and there is going to be, I'm sure, an opportunity at some point. We were talking about this, me and Ty Gilpin, today over at Mountain Home, or not today, it was this week, about possibility of doing something with Debbie, to help Debbie with it and promote the record at the same time.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that there'll be an opportunity to do that. And
yes,
it's just I feel like it's a tribute to Steve, But if anybody's interested in getting it right now, it's TimStaffordGuitar.com is my website. So
yeah, be sure and check that site out. And I know everybody's been out of work during the pandemic and stuff, and musicians have really been hit because we're all ready to play. The festivals just aren't ready for us because right now, they put so much money out, or some festivals do, to get a good lineup, and then you don't get people in, and because this COVID, people are still afraid to be out, and it's hard to. I do the talent at Bean Blossom, and we're having to figure out, I know we're not going to do June, but, once we make a lineup's hard to do, and get contracts and all. And we're just kind of holding out now to find out what September looks like. So, so just saying that, go over to Tim's site. Not saying Tim's broke. Tim ain't broke. Tim's got all kinds of money. Sit back. But go over there and buy some stuff. Go get you a CD or two over there, and Tim's got lots of different things over there that you can look at, and like they always said, bring your billfold, but nowadays I guess just bring your credit card. And go to is it timstafford.com or .net or
it's Tim Stafford Guitar, timstaffordguitar.com.
Okay, timstaffordguitar.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Hope you get some business in there tonight.
Well, I appreciate it, Phil. It tough times. It's unusual, ain't it?
Yeah,
It's just been difficult.
it is. It is. It's funny. I'll tell you this. It's kind of weird. I used to, see the people out that would go out to their mailbox wearing their sleep pants or something like that, and I go, oh wow, can't believe those people's coming out wearing sleep pants. Because I remember when I first moved into my house, I wouldn't get out of the house unless I was I looked like I was ready to go to church, and now I find myself out messing outside with things, whether it's bird feeders wearing sleep pants, and it's like I got to get out of this habit before this thing's over with. And next thing I do, I'll be at Walmart, and I don't want to do that because we know about all the people that you see there in sleep pants and barefooted. And I saw a guy back last summer at Walmart, and he was wearing a pair of boxer shorts, and I mean, with the fly and everything in front, and had a little paisley design. There was no doubt that they were boxers, and he just wandered right in and went out with a gallon of milk. I figure maybe his baby's got crying and he didn't want to get dressed, so he just rolled out of bed and came to Walmart. And Walmart is the place that will always, forgive you for that, I guess. But let me go down through here a little bit, and then we're going to talk about one of your heroes, and one of my heroes, just a bit. Mark Eaton said the Tony Rice book is wonderful, and John D. Deal, Tim Stafford's the first class act, a valued member of Tony Rice Rules Facebook group. There you go.
Yeah.
And Mark Eaton again. Alison Brown worked as an investment banker in San Francisco, but decided she liked banjo more. Yeah, she liked banjo more till it quit paying a bunch, and then she had to go open her a studio and a record label. But John Deal's put up the link to your page, Tim, where to buy the Tony Rice record and anything else. So just scroll down the side there, and it's there. And here's one of our real good buddies. I couldn't go without mentioning her. She's on tonight. Steve Gully's wife, Debbie, she's on, and she said the new album's full of another set of great tunes. And, that's right, Debbie. I mean, Steve, I'm going to talk a little about him, and I know Tim wants to do the same. Debbie, you know how I've always felt about Steve, and I still sit around here and I'll see something real stupid somewhere on the internet or what, and I'll automatically, gosh, I've got to send this to Steve, and then I realize I can't, and or I'll be out in the yard thinking about something, and Steve rode together every weekend, all through Grasstown, and whatever I did with the All-Stars. And, I just always remember looking out the window when it was time and watching his truck top the hill and come in. And I was sitting out in the yard the other day, and for a minute, kind of like your last line in Another Setting Sun, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden it's like, I could feel the times when I would see him top the hill, and I knew that was never going to happen again. And I'm like you, man. I love Steve. He was a brother to me and you both. And you want to say some stuff about Steve?
Well, I just thought the world of him, and I felt like we had a real special relationship, just like you all did, and he talked about you all the time.
You too. He did.
And, and he would always, I know he was right there with you when you were sick. When you were sickest, he was there for you.
He was.
And he said, I want to do it for Phil. I remember him telling me, he said, I just hate what he's going through, and that's one thing about Steve, man. He was absolutely would take a shirt off his back, and that's
Give it.
what that song "Angel on Its Way" is about.
Oh yeah,
You know.
that's exactly him. I've got a UT Tennessee uh, fleece. I guess it's a jacket, and I wear it a lot now. And I didn't know at the time, but we went somewhere and Steve, I hadn't brought a jacket, and Steve told me, he said, "Hey, take this and wear it," and all. And I did, and I got home and went to take it off, and he goes, "Oh, take that, take that. I don't need it. I've got something else." And I think Debbie had told me that that wasn't the case. That Steve liked that jacket. He just wanted to give it to me, and that's the way Steve was. And
Yeah.
everything we played, uh, after I got sick, Steve would always he'd give me his keys and say, "Hey, go warm up the car." I'd say, "Okay, let me get my stuff." "No, you go warm up the car," and I'd go out there and start the car, and Steve would make 2 or 3 trips bringing my stuff out. And it's just such a shame. I mean, he worried so much about me, and I know we talked about cancer a lot, and Steve said, I really feel for you, buddy. I don't want to take you out, and I just want you to know it's not going to, and dang, it took him out, and that's what's such a big shame. I never saw it coming.
No, I didn't either. It was really, really a shock, and you just never know. And I know, you just have to treasure every minute
You
that you
really
have
do.
with people, and it's easy to say, but when you get right down to what that really means, then you start thinking, well, I'm never going to see this person again, and it hits home. So you better take advantage of it while you can with who you have left. I really feel strongly about that.
Well, that's right. And I know so many people knew Steve, but the people who didn't know Steve know him through his music, and that's I have so many people that I saw come up to Steve over the years and talking to him said, I wasn't religious, or I didn't go to church, or I didn't believe, or whatever, and then they said they heard Patching It Up, and
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
the
Correct.
song Scars in His Hands. That was another one. Those two.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I always said about Steve, Steve wasn't in a pulpit ever, but I think he probably brought more people to believing, and brought them into to God than most pastors ever will. Uh,
Yeah, just by the way he lived his life,
yeah, and he had that big stage, and he wasn't scared. He wasn't ever ashamed, no matter where we were, no matter where. Uh, I mean, we played some places one time after I was getting well that were basically bars, and Steve didn't care one bit to sing those tunes. And
Mm-hmm.
he would get up there and he would talk about it, and give his testament, and that's the kind of people that we need more of, like
Mm-hmm.
Steve. And I'll share this.
Absolutely.
I'll share this with you. I may have told you this. I don't want to get off base, but I saw Steve a couple of days before he'd passed, and I remember uh, I was, I reached over and I was holding Steve's hand, and that's the thing about it. I mean, Steve, my gosh, Steve was like, when you traveled, you ain't gonna go reach over and touch Steve's hand or nothing like that. He wouldn't
Right.
want to, and I wouldn't want to, but at this time it was appropriate, and I was
Mm-hmm.
holding Steve's hand, and he looked at me and he said, my only thing is I don't think I've been good enough to, you know, to go to heaven. And that's what he meant. I mean, I don't think he said he had to go to heaven, but he said, Phil, I just don't think that I've been good enough. And I said, Steve, if anybody has been good enough, it's been you, because you've written so many songs. You've always talked to everybody about Jesus and God. And if there's anybody that I can sit right now and say, that I know is there, Steve Gully. I can say that I know everything in my heart and my belief that I know where Steve's at, and
yeah, I mean, if Steve wasn't good enough there wasn't nobody.
No,
he was that kind of guy, and I just never, I never saw him not have time for people when they would come and talk and about whatever he wanted to talk about. But he was just a wonderful guy, and boy, you talk about somebody that's truly, truly missed. 2020 was a tough year in a lot of ways, but Steve's passing and then Tony's passing, which was real unexpected,
I know. It's I told somebody the other day, and I know unless people have a pet, they don't understand, but I had a pet I was real close to, and she got cancer, and it was like, with me, it was like, I'm not going to let cancer, take her, because I just kind of grouped cancer into one thing. And I took her to UT, got her treatment, and a lot of people would laugh at that. But I lost her about 3 weeks before Steve, and she was just like family. You know how dogs get to be. And and immediately, you're still grieving over that, and then Steve got sick, and I told my wife that I'd be glad, when 2020 is gone. But the bad thing about saying that, there's been so many years, just like 2019, that I said I'll be glad when 2019 is gone. It'll be a better year, and it sure wasn't. And I just learned anymore. Just we never know what's coming, do we, Tim?
No, you don't. You don't. You're a real inspiration to a lot of us, Phil. Just very positive and hanging in there, and just it's just amazing.
Well, thank you.
You've been able to overcome.
Thank you, buddy. I'm just I've got a reason to still be here, and that's kind of what I'm trying to work against. And I will say I feel like crap all the time, but I'm a lot healthier than I was 10 years ago, if that means anything. So, if anything, I've got 10 more years, and I appreciate you, or I've lived 10 more years. I hope I get 10 more and 10 more, but I appreciate you. But I knew we wanted to talk about Steve, but we're going to get a little happy here for a minute. Now, I know the first time I met you, you had a magazine or a newsletter that, and I knew you were a guitar player, but you were carrying around mandolin player newsletters. You remember that? And it was
there was a newsletter that a guy had published, and I didn't know much about it except Jerry Douglas had showed it to me, and I was I don't believe I've laughed as hard. I don't know, but I did get to know a lot about Earl Marler, so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Earl actually is from this town, and he did a lot of he did festivals a lot, and probably one of the stories, most people are not going to know Earl, but I'll have to tell you a good Earl Marler story. Sam Bush loves Earl, and just because I've talked to him about stories, and I'm going to tell you my story, and then I'm going to tell you the Sam Bush story, and you'll get a kick out of this. But my brother played with Earl Marler for a while. Earl played mandolin. Earl dressed like Bill Monroe and held that mandolin up there and played it, like Bill. And he wanted everybody to, to dress. He had, back in the 70s, if you had a band, more important than anything, you had to have matching clothes. That was the most important thing, is you had to
Right.
have matching clothes. So anyway, I don't remember what happened that week. Somebody was out, but Earl played a show in town, and my brother played banjo, and I think at the time they were wearing maroon polyester pants and a white shirt. You know, the what I always said, the entertainer model of the white shirts, and
Right.
so anyway, something happened. I think the fiddle player was out, so Earl asked Kent if I would come and play with him. So anyway, I said, yeah. I hadn't been playing long, so this was a big deal. So and back then, my gosh, I was a big old boy when I started playing dobro, and I've been a big old boy, which I'm down 150 pounds over the last few years, which is
Wow.
a lot, but still got a lot to go. But when all this was going on, man, you couldn't get pants bigger than a size 38. And
Right.
I don't know what I was in then, but they were hard to find. So Earl had sent word, to me, hey, if you come play, you got to have a white shirt, and you got to have maroon polyester pants for the show. So I couldn't find anything like that, but I finally found some maroon pants that looked pretty good. They were hippie bell bottoms in my size. And I found a white shirt, and I remember coming up on stage to the stage, and Earl immediately, he was looking at my pants. I'm thinking he's looking at these because they're bell bottoms, and he come over and got the side of my pants and rubbed them. He said, "Those aren't polyester; those are cotton blend." And I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, you're not going to be able to play." I didn't get to play because I had on the
Because you
wrong.
were wearing what polyester?
I was wearing polyester, and he wanted cotton blend, and
Oh,
so they played three piece on that. But a real funny one to speak about the newsletter. First time I met Sam Bush, JD, we were in Bowling Green. I think that's where Sam lived. And
yeah.
anyway, we're out there at a show, and Sam come out to see us, and JD says, "Yeah, I got a new band here," and he introduced me to Sam. First time I met Sam, and I said, "Sam, you probably know, because Sam was just like, I was a new guy, and hey, glad to meet you." And I said, "I think you know my dad." And he says, "What's your dad's name?" And I told him it was Earl Marler. And he looked at me and he goes, "Why does that guy hate me?" And I said, "He don't hate you." And he goes, "Well," he goes, "I don't know." He goes, "I've heard that he does." I said, "No, Sam." I said, "He loves you." And he says, "Well, that's hard to see between the lines and see that one, but I'll believe you." So, and I finally told him, I said, I don't know him. And he hauled off. And I guess that was, we made it together at that point, because he hauled off and hit me in the shoulder. And he said, "Man, you got me there." But it's funny. I know you and I used to laugh at all that stuff, all those old
Oh,
Knoxville stories.
oh yeah, man. That's a masterpiece stuff
Oh,
level right there.
it was. I look back at it now, and I always say, "Wow, that's a different person." It was just funny with stuff, but my brother played with him, and I just still remember, them coming out the house and stuff, and I was always wanted to pick with them, but the day I went out there and I couldn't play because I was wearing a cotton blend, that just, you know, uh, but it was funny, man. He just laser beamed my britches, and I thought it was the bell bottoms. And no, it was the textile. Wrong thing. Let's see what I got
That's
over here.
awesome.
Let's see what I got over here. Neil Leach says great memories of our friend Steve Gully. Yeah, it sure is. And Tim, I've had you on a while tonight, and I'm not going to keep you any longer. But buddy, I appreciate you being on. Is there anything you want to say or tell us about going on or anything like that?
Well, no, I'm working here. We've been real busy here because we're building a house and moving to Greenville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
But I have been working on a few things before Tony passed away last year. Ken Irwin from Rounder Records and I were working together on a Tony Rice box set.
Wow.
It's going to be a 6 CD retrospective of Tony's career, and it's going to have some stuff that people just haven't heard before. There's going to be one disc that's just bluegrass. There's going to be one that's the jazz-oriented material, and then there's going to be there's going to be one live. Now, I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard those recordings, and then one that is guest appearances, and there's a lot of that kind of thing I had never heard before.
Wow.
Because I've heard Zane Fairchild and Jason Burleson were pointing me in the direction, and Zane in particular had just a ton of things that Tony had played on that I had just never heard before that are just so good, just really, really cool stuff. And so I'm hoping that those end up on this compilation, and that should be out this year sometime, hopefully.
Wow. Have you got a name for it? Will it be on Rounder?
It won't be. It'll be on Kraft Records, which
Okay.
Kraft is a label that does all of the historical reissues and compilation box sets for Rounder.
Okay.
And they do other labels as well, but
That's
it's
killer.
a separate label. Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping if it's not out this year, hopefully next year. So,
Buddy, that's awesome. I mean, I know that when you're looking for stuff on Tony Rice, you're the guy to go to. And I know Zane's another one of those guys that studied about every
I
step
know
he took.
about it.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, he
and,
is.
The other thing I'm working on, and it's another one of these deals like where I started Tony's book, but I get bogged down in other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Working on a history of bluegrass since the mid '70s forward, and it's going to be comprehensive. It's going to take it all the way up to the present, and it's kind of based on these classes I've been teaching at ETSU and also Appalachian State. I've been teaching a class at Appalachian State every other year the last 6 years, no, longer than that, called Bluegrass Traditions, and it's the history of bluegrass. And we take it up to the present, and I thought, well, Neil Rosenberg's book ends in the mid-'70s, and so I thought I'd try to update it because it's really in need of updating,
Oh, yeah, I think some of the very best, if not the best music, now I'll have people fuss with me because, of course, you got the Flatt and Scruggs era and stuff, but, man, some of the best music, in my opinion, was in the 70s on up. There was really some great music, I mean, between people like Crow and the country gentlemen you mentioned with James Bailey and Douglas and all. I mean, I saw those guys live. They were awesome. And, they were a different breed of music and a change in the music in the 70s with Newgrass revival and all that. So, man, I'm glad you're doing that, Tim. I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, hopefully. I have no idea when that's going to be finished, but I've been working on it during the pandemic, and I also been writing a ton of songs. The Zoom thing has just opened up a whole new world with me.
Yep.
It's actually just as easy to write on Zoom as it is to do co-writes for me, and so I'm able to sit here at the house and co-write. Like Tom Utes and I have written every week, almost practically the entire pandemic. We got 50 some songs, just the two of us wrote. So we're going to do a record together here coming up, and I've written 115 total since the pandemic started. So it's just staying at it.
Since the pandemic, good gosh, how many have you wrote in your life? You think, Tim?
Gosh, man, I really don't know. I've had about 300 and some recorded, but I don't know how many I wrote. So just
trying
to stay at it.
That's incredible. I mean, that really is. And
Well,
buddy, you just keep on doing what you do, and we'll look over at some point on stage and see each other outside again without masks, and it'll be a
I,
be a great time.
I look forward to that day, Phil, and I know we will soon. And I feel certain that Blue Highway's going to be able to play some of our shows this year
Oh yeah.
that are coming up. So we do have some scheduled starting in June. So
Oh, that's going to be great, man. You know, I'll
yeah.
mention this and I'm going to let you go, but I'm working on a big dobro record right now. I've got 25 players on it, and Gary Holtman's one. He's a
Awesome.
great player and singer.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And
And we're thrilled to have Gary in our group. He just does a wonderful job.
oh, he does. You know, I've only got a couple of people on here singing. Most of it's instrumental. And Gary asked about singing. I said, "Yeah, man, you're a great singer." And he brought a tune in, and that he wrote, and it's really good. It's gonna, you know, vocal tunes are what get airplay on radio, and I'm
Mm.
sure that this song will be one that will go to radio pretty quick. And Gary, you know, Gary needs that too because he's a new guy, but my gosh, he's not new guy talent. He can play
Yeah.
with anybody, you know. And
And
another guy
he's
from
awesome.
ETSU, right?
Yeah, he did. He's from Minnesota, but came down to ETSU for the bluegrass program there.
Mm-hmm.
And man, what a nice guy!
Oh, he
His
is.
family is just top notch. We're thrilled to death to have him in the group.
Oh,
So
he's awesome. Before I go, I want to mention you put in a lot of time at ETSU, didn't you?
yeah, I graduated from there and have taught in the bluegrass program over the years several different times.
Well, buddy, it's good to have you on tonight, Tim. When you know, I call up a lot of people, I'm never sure if they can or not, and then you know, some people just I don't know, they just don't like to do interviews, but everybody I've talked to so far has, and I'm was really tickled, which I knew you would because me and you've always been really good buddies with stuff, and I was just real happy to have you on tonight,
Yeah.
and I will see you soon out there, and you take care of yourself, and God bless you and your family, and good luck with the house, okay?
Well, thank you so much, Phil. Thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate it, and hope to see you soon. But take care of
Sounds
yourself.
good. Have a good one, Tim. See ya.
You too. Bye.
This is Tim Stafford, man, great musician right there, great singer. Glad to have him on tonight. I'm gonna read some messages here real quick. Uh, let's see. All right, let's see. All right. Uh, let's see here. Let me get down here. My messages bounced or something. Carl Town said, "Yes, sir. Thank you. You're an inspiration to me and many, many more, brother." I appreciate that, Carl. That means a lot to me about that, and thank you. And Jason A. Lawrence asked, and this is something for you, Dave Maggard. What address would we send you a? Oh no, this is for me. I'm sorry. What address would we send you a hat to? Do this. Send me a private message, Jason, through Facebook Messenger, and I'll send you my address to do that. And I appreciate it. I'll wear it on the air, and be glad to do it. My buddy Debbie Jones says, "Hey Phil," and I say back, "Hey Debbie, good to hear from you." And my buddy Rodney Pearson. Now I got to talk to you just a minute about Rodney, and then I'm gonna wrap up. But the first band I was ever in, our music teacher put us together. We were called the Knoxville Newgrass Boys, and then we changed that to Knoxville Newgrass. And there was a band in town that you may know called the Knoxville Grass. It's where Paul Brewster came from. And I look back now, it's like, man, I can't believe that we did a name so close to theirs. And I always wondered why they didn't like us, and I guess that explains. But no, they were all good friends. Jimmy Millsaps actually, and Darrell Wolf actually played in a band with me later, but Rodney Pearson was our bass player in the Knoxville Newgrass Boys, and we played all the time. We played every political thing in town, and I wish I could get work like that these days, but then again, these things paid $20. So anyway, Rodney, glad to have you on. Rodney went to work at what is Dollywood now. It used to be Gold Rush Junction, then Silver Dollar City, then Dollywood. And we worked there, and we had to go back to school, but Rodney, best I remember, didn't have to because he was graduating. Anyway, he's worked at the park since the mid-'70s, and he retired from Dollywood recently. And he played a little bit of music, but he wound up being a master carpenter there. And I'm just really proud of Rodney. He put in a lot of years there and did a lot of great things for the park there that is Dollywood. So, hey, Rodney Pearson, glad to see you. He was my picking buddy in my very first band I was a member of, the Knoxville Newgrass Boys. Hey, let me roll down. Thanks, Rodney. Dave Maggard, thank you, Phil. Just finishing Dole's album up. Dropped his single today. So, as I mentioned, Sound Biscuit here, great studio, and Dole Lawson's just did his album there, and I can see why. So, it's a great place. Should have got this one earlier. I didn't read it. Jason Lawrence, how many instruments does Tim play? Probably enough. He's a talented man, so he plays a bunch. Carl Towns, J.D. Crowe, not a bad thing. No, he's not. Crowe is Crowe's top shelf, and I can say that because we traveled a lot of roads over 11 years, and actually 12 because we come back and did the flashback thing, so we had 12, but not a better guy out there than J.D. Crowe, whether it's banjo playing or whether it's just a human being. Crowe's a one fine man and awesome. Amy Saltzgaver said, I have watched Paul Williams in the rain at Bean Blossom. Yeah. You find these acts like that you want to see, and you'll sit out in the rain. I've done the same thing. I watched, I know when I was a kid, Rodney will remember this, but we played the Newgrass, and we played at Bean Blossom, and my dad went, and Jerry Butler's dad, who Jerry was in a band, they went up, so they got a hotel, and we stayed in a tent, and we had to play the next day, and it rained, and we went out and played on stage, and we were a mess because we slept in our stage clothes, and so we've not only watched bands in the rain, we played in bands in the rain and stuff. So anyway, yeah, Mike Kelly says something I won't say. He does say he's got one of those newsletters, and I won't mention which one it was, but Bobby Starnes is watching. Bobby's did a lot of work with Tim Stafford and a lot of work with Steve Gully. And let me roll them down. I think that's about it. Neil Leach said great memories of our friend Steve Gully. And Mark Eaton looking forward to the Tony Rice box set. I am too. I don't think that Tony's ever put out anything that I didn't like. All his records were great. So anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. And Randy Green, Randy, you've said some really nice stuff right here. I don't know who's sent you some money, but it wasn't me, but could have been somebody close. Randy said, I've been listening all week to the All Stars of Bluegrass CD. That's my bunch. And said, been working on learning Yesterday's Gone. Steve and his wife are great on that song. Love the whole CD. Man, thank you, Randy. I'll say something about that and then I'll wrap up. But I want to tell you about the song Yesterday's Gone. We did that, and it was the last song we actually recorded on our All-Star CD. And some of y'all probably heard this, but I'll say it again. It was the last song, and I had heard Steve sing this, and I asked him if he'd do it on the record. Well, he did it, and sung it like in one take, and we drove home and we was trying to figure out people to sing on it. And I thought we needed a female singer. And I asked Steve, I said, why don't we get your wife Debbie to sing on it? And Steve goes, Noel, I'll tell you what, if we do that, you're going to have to ask her, because if I ask her, she'll think I put you up to it. So he dials up and holds the phone over, and I get it, and I ask her, and she was real excited to sing on it. And anyway, they called me the next week, I think, and they had went over and put her part on it, and they played it for me as they were driving home, and it just blew me away. And I loved that song. I didn't know exactly how it would do because it was so country, but I knew it was good. And after Steve passed, man, it just really seemed to be the song that tied up everything. The last tune that Steve and Debbie would sing together. I mean, and Debbie was a great singer. She sang at Renfro Valley for many years. And this kind of just became their last song. And it got, the airplay really went crazy on it. And it started doing really good, a lot of airplay. And I hope it'll continue to get more, because it's the last song that Steve and Debbie got to sing together. And it was one called Yesterday's Gone. And you can get that over on my website, unclephilonline.com. I want to wrap up here. I do want to mention, as I did earlier, John Cowan from the Newgrass Revival, and also from the Doobie Brothers will be on my show next week. You need to listen in for John. He just went into the Hall of Fame this year with the Newgrass Revival. And John, man, an incredible player, and we'll hear a lot of cool stories from him. But I appreciate all you guys that tune in every week. A lot of you the same folks, and you could be doing anything else. I know that. And I just try not to get too boring. I try to bring in people that's interesting, people I know that I don't have to talk to them like I don't know anything about them. I bring in a lot of people that I know where we can sit and have a conversation, and I hope you like that. I'm not cut out for this stuff, but I'm learning each week how to try to do it better, and it seems like people like the fact that we just sit down like we're in the living room talking, and that's the way I want it to be. So thanks for tuning in. God bless you, and wear your mask. See you next week with John Cowan. Bye-bye.